Today, on this special 50th edition of Mustang Magazine, we'll find out the true origins of the Mustang Magazine show, we'll take a look into the daily life of a Mustang Magazine reporter, and we'll catch up with a Mustang Magazine alumni who recently took a trip back to Norwood. All this and more on this special 50th edition of Mustang Magazine.
All that and more coming up next on this 50th edition of Mustang Magazine.
Hello, and welcome to the show. I'm Joe Spadorcia.
And I'm Sam Doucette. It's our first episode of the new year, but more importantly, it's our 50th of all time.
So we're going to be looking back at some of our favorite stories and catching up with some former storytellers.
But first, we need to go back to the beginning. Recently, I caught up with some Mustang Magazine alumni to see just how this all got started.
Mustang Magazine began in 2012.
Today on Mustang Magazine,
A lot of people helped us get started. I mean, we had the support of Mr. Brunn, obviously, and then we had NHS-TV behind our backs, with all the equipment and studio usage. And then, the Nord community, too. We always, if we reached out to anybody about doing a story, most of the people we reached out to were more than happy to, help us out and, tell their story to us.
So I was around when it first started, and I helped make feature package stories like everyone else in the class.
And welcome to Mustang Magazine. I'm Robbie Way.
And I'm Tessa McGuire.
And I also hosted a couple times, which was not my forte, but it was a good experience.
The news magazine format has been around for a while now. It's something that's, done professionally. It's a popular format of, news storytelling. The idea kind of came together because we wanted to be more professional in the work that we do, and telling stories in that kind of format was the best way to, showcase our talent as well as tell stories that the Nord community had to offer.
Even though the magazine show format was new to the students, they knew that one thing would stay the same in their stories.
I think it's all about character. I mean, I know Mr. Brunt kind of harps about making sure you have good shooting and writing and everything, but I think having a good story itself and having like an interesting character to like kind of make your story around will make a good Mustang Mag story.
It's really, the best story can be driven by having a central focus and someone who has something that they are actively doing or pursuing, either some sort of passion or some sort of like cause that they're going for.
And you have to care about what you're doing too, I think. Like you can tell when you don't really care about the package that you're putting together. So if it's something that you're really like invested in, I think it just turns out really well.
While creating a professional news magazine, the hosts and the lighting is the easy stuff. The most significant part of any news show is caring about the stories and having characters that do as well. Mustang Magazine is still running with 1 or 2 shows being filmed every month, and it is now on its 50th episode. Reporting for Mustang Magazine, I'm Sam Doucette.
Special thanks to my partner Mia Finisi for helping with the shooting and editing.
Shooting and editing, along with writing, are necessary skills for producing stories. In the first season, there was one student who did it better than the rest.
He won't really tell you, but we'll brag for him. Ryan is the only NHS-TV student to win not one, but 2 first-place national awards.
As a senior, he set the quality standard for a Mustang Magazine story. Here's one of our favorites from his SDN Challenge winning entry in 2012.
Produced in 5 days with reporter Leo Blaze, they caught up with the boys lacrosse team, who was doing a unique fundraiser in order to fill the gaps left by budget cuts.
Many groups and teams at Norwood High School have found themselves strapped for cash this year after the Norwood Public School Committee was forced to cut around $1 million out of the school budget last year.
Our old jerseys are just starting to get really ratty and no one really wants to wear them anymore. So the lacrosse program is relatively new and we were one of the first programs to lose some of our funding.
In need of a decent amount of fundraising, the team felt that the typical approach to fundraising was stale.
The majority of teams in our town choose to do car washes, but after a while they start to be one car wash every weekend and they don't do a particularly good job of washing the cars, so we figured doing something that no team's done before would help us raise more money.
After realizing this, the lacrosse team decided to tackle their problem in a different manner.
We got a bunch of the lacrosse team together to rake leaves and try to raise some money for new jerseys for the lacrosse team.
While this is a great idea on paper, getting the word out is going to be the biggest challenge.
The program's going to work by, placing some flyers around town, putting an ad in the paper, trying to get people to hire the lacrosse team to rake their leaves for $150 per yard.
They're a great bunch of guys, and it's a great cause. It's going to sports, and there's nothing better than that for teenagers. We could have hired a landscaper, but the price is right with the boys, and it's just nice to see kids doing something positive and working towards a goal. They're not working for themselves, they're working for the team.
The lacrosse team's originality paid off in more ways than one.
It's really benefited me both ways, helping the team and having a nice lawn.
The lacrosse team's initiative to rake in the dough shows that there's more than one way to solve a problem. For Mustang Magazine, I'm Leo Blaze.
NHS-TV still enters the SDN Challenge every October, and Ryan and Leo weren't the only ones to win, but more on that later on in the show.
Right now, we're taking you behind the scenes to see just how stories are put together.
Senior staff reporters Allie Nauman and Megan Quinn give us their breakdown in their own words.
Alyssa Nauman, and for Mustang Magazine, I produce stories. I'm usually the videographer for the stories.
Me and Allie have been working together for a really long time, and we have a lot of fun filming and editing the stories together.
Last year I did a story on a cat adoption agency that's in Petco in Norwood, and then I did a story on a mom's hockey league that was started.
I've learned that hockey is very hard.
And then this year I did a story on Famous Flowers, which is Ed Hickey. He has a business on a corner in Norwood where he sells flowers.
My favorite story is definitely snow safety. It was a lot of fun getting the B-roll and going down to the police station and talking to the police officers there.
That inexperience, not really knowing what to do when your cars slide.
And our story now is about Mustang Sally, so the mascot for the girls hockey team. It's really easy for us to film that one because we're on the team, so we're going to the practices, we're going to the pasta dinners, and filming all about Sally and how she has a big role on the team. To make a story, you have to fill out a treatment outline where it kind of just says the main idea of what your story is and who you're going to interview and kind of what the whole idea is.
Film an interview and then film some B-roll.
The hardest part about making a story for Mustang Magazine is probably writing the script. It has to make sense and make sure the story kind of flows so everyone knows what you're talking about, and then you have to write up voiceovers and film those and then kind of put them all together in the timeline with B-roll, which is pretty much just a bunch of shots about the subject and get them doing what they're doing.
It's hard to make an interesting story that is relevant to the time and make sure we finish it on time for it to air and still make sense.
Do you think this one should be here at the end?
My favorite part of making a story is finding the perfect clip to put at the beginning of the story, because once you have the beginning, the rest just falls into place.
My favorite part about Mustang Magazine is probably seeing the final product and just seeing how all the segments kind of piece together into a whole show.
Mustang Magazine is a good opportunity for us to show off what we've been working on in class. Definitely going to miss working with Allie.
Great job, that's awesome.
Thanks, girls, and special shout out to junior staff reporters Myra Hines and Emily Trahone for putting that segment together.
Storytelling skills can take a couple years to develop, but by the end of the second year, the Mustang Magazine reporters began to hit their stride.
Some even adventured into investigative journalism. In 2012, administrators changed the passing time between classes from 5 to 4 minutes. 2 years later, reporter Mackenzie Begley and Jess Murphy explored the impact.
That sound means two things to the students at Norwood High School. Either you've made it to class or you're late.
I find it really difficult to get to class in 4 minutes because like there's a whole bunch of people going to the stairs.
It's always, you had the 4 minutes in the hallway, but like if you're trying to do anything, you like don't have time to.
Senior Dean, Mr. Garzinski, has a different opinion.
It shouldn't take a minute and a half more to go to your locker and not chat on your way. I know that's a lot of the kids do. They get caught up talking.
Administrators Mr. Garzinski and Ms. Shakoy decided to time out a route for themselves.
She went up one stairwell, I went a different way and went up another stairwell. We met at the farthest, was 312, I think is the corner room, in 2.5 minutes.
2.5 minutes seems fair, but what if you need to go to your locker? I decided to do the same experiment, including a locker stop. Our final time was 4 minutes and 38 seconds.
A lot of kids aren't using their lockers. A lot of kids are just putting all their stuff in their backpacks and taking their backpacks to classes.
However, this backpack situation is not one to be taken lightly.
The potential effects of a heavy backpack on a student can cause back pain.
And for students like Nikki Nguyen, carrying a heavy backpack meant also having to see a doctor.
Yeah, I had to go to physical therapy because my backpack was so heavy and I had to carry 3 textbooks at once to class.
But even if you have a heavy backpack, that doesn't necessarily mean you will get a backache.
I would recommend wearing the backpack correctly, which would mean wearing it on both shoulders, using both straps.
Locker stop or not, teachers still expect students to be on time. Nearly 90% of teachers surveyed agree that 4 minutes is enough time.
I think that students have enough time to get to their classes. 99% of them come to class, so I think that 1% needs to just hustle and bustle.
However, there are a few that disagree.
I definitely do not think students have enough time in between classes. I think all we have to do is just look around for evidence of that. In my classes, I see students are walking around with enormous full book bags. So that leads me to believe that they don't have enough time to go to their locker during the day.
If they really want to add that extra minute back, so what's it going to add 5 minutes to our day? So do we want to be here to 2:28 then?
So it looks like there's some room for negotiation. But as it stands right now, you have 4 minutes to get to class, or you're late. Reporting for Mustang Magazine, I'm Jess Murphy.
That story won its share of awards, but more importantly, it got the attention of the school committee. And while the passing time didn't change, it helped students realize they had a voice and could affect change.
But not all stories are so hard-hitting. And in the 3rd year, we proved that a good story is all about finding a great character. So right now, let's take a look at the most popular story from Season 3, profiling a community member in Norwood Icon. Brian Curley and Aaron Crowley report.
If you live near Cottage Street in Nichols, then you've probably seen Stephen Parody walking in his front yard sipping a martini.
I think some non-animal lovers will do a double take and shrug and say, what a strange guy, either carrying a glass of champagne or a martini and walking a cat. Well, I don't know, maybe I'm unusual.
Known around town under many nicknames, this Norwood icon embraces the recognition.
I've been called Martini Man, Cat Man Do, and somebody even called me the Earl of Norwood. I've been called worse things. I don't have a problem with any of those. I've met so many people. I know all my neighbors, and I know a lot of people that, Norwood's a very walkable town. So I know a lot of people that don't necessarily live in this immediate vicinity, but they walk by and, we say hello or they stop and we talk.
Parody was born in South Florida and spent his teenage years working for his older brother who was in the general contracting business. After taking some classes in his 20s, Parody decided to enroll in school.
And then I moved to Boston. That was '84. I went to Boston Architectural College, and then eventually ended up doing graduate studies at Harvard Graduate School of Design.
These days, Parody manages an architecture design studio in Boston. But what he's really known for around Norwood is his devotion to his 2 pet cats.
Yeah, I call them the kids, but I have to also tell you, I mean, granted, they get anything they want, but I always talk to them. I always talk to them, and I think communication is absolutely paramount.
While there's no shortage of people in his neighborhood who walk their dogs, Parody might be the only resident who walks a cat.
Good girl. I started with a harness and a leash, and then I let them, once they felt comfortable out with me, I'd let them walk with me and drag the leash. And then there's Pippi, but she's completely trustworthy. She stays in this yard, or she goes in Jay and Wendy's yard.
And even though he has his cats to keep him company, he's still hoping he will eventually find Martini Woman.
I hope someday I meet someone and they're younger than I and they would like to have a child. And I'm like most animal owners that are childless. I think they, and even animal owners with children, if they really love their pets, they're part of the family.
So the next time you're near Cottage Street in Nichols, stop by and say hello to Norwood's one and only Martini Man and his cats. Reporting for Mustang Magazine, I'm Erin Crowley.
Are you getting blueberry?
If you're driving on Cottage Street, make sure you wave to the Martini Man. That story earned several awards and is a real hit on our YouTube channel.
By the beginning of the 4th season, Mustang Magazine had evolved into a really strong student-led journalism program, and the outside recognition started to mount.
In the fall of 2015, seniors Sadie Krall, Danny Sullivan, and Taylor Reed decided to enter the STN Sports Challenge.
Their story, produced in 5 days, focused on another Nord icon known for his incredible story overcoming an unfortunate hockey accident.
I was 15, a sophomore. My mind wasn't on school. It was on a lot of social life.
Matt Brown never imagined his life could change in the matter of seconds.
I think I always imagined when Matt was 21 and Kelly was 20 that my husband and I would, they'd be all grown up and not need us. Clearly Matt still needs us and probably will for many years to come until he has gained more independence.
In January of 2010, I was playing hockey for Nord High, and during the second period of a game against Weymouth, I was racing for a puck, and as the puck came off the boards, I looked down, and it was between my feet. And as I looked down, that's when I got bumped from behind, and ended up going headfirst into the boards, and actually breaking my neck in the C4 and C5 vertebrae.
Leaving him paralyzed from the neck down. One collision and Matt's life was on a new course.
It definitely changed everything in an instant. We went from kind of happy-go-lucky to you have to think about everything.
College, I crossed off my list when I got hurt.
Like college, many things seemed out of reach for Matt, but he's made huge strides in his recovery.
It's funny to look back at those, at the early pictures and at the early videos of how sick I was. And now I'm here living at school.
As time goes by, he's realized each little step that he makes that he can do more and more.
And he has done just that.
I'm amazed. I really see him do everything he wants to do. I think there was a part of us that thought Matt's life stopped at that period of time. He was the one who said it changed, it didn't end.
Matt's life hasn't taken the course he would have expected, but it has made him the person he is today.
A third grader asked me once if I could click a button, would I change everything? If I could go back to January 2010, and I don't know if I would. It was definitely a wake-up call, and I think it changed me in the right way.
For Mustang Magazine, I'm Sadie Krall.
We're happy to report that Matt Brown has graduated from Stonehill College and is living with his family in Norwood and is working as a motivational speaker. He will return to Stonehill this summer for his master's in integrated marketing and communications.
That story took second place in the nation for the STN Challenge and then went on to earn several other honors.
We weren't stopping there either. It was a special year filled with special talent. And with such an incredible body of work, the staff decided to enter the Mustang Magazine into the Pacemaker competition, sponsored by the National Scholastic Press Association.
Senior staff reporters Cassie Cahill and Ashley Hutchins were just sophomores then, but they caught up with some of the seniors from that Pacemaker crew. Here's their report.
Mustang Magazine has been an NHS-TV tradition for almost 5 years, and one of the show's crowning achievements is the Pacemaker Award, awarded in 2017.
What I remember is Mr. Brunt made a big deal about it. Through my 4 years here, I know we tried a couple of times, and even though we would have some good shows, it didn't really work out, so finally being able to win the award was just a really cool feeling.
The Pacemaker is the most prestigious award given to journalism at the high school level. An alumni, Sadie Krall, says she never even saw it coming.
I guess I can say kind of not shocked but surprised, because I definitely feel like my senior year we weren't terrible, but I definitely felt like there was a lot of things behind the scenes that weren't very cohesive. We were strong in some aspects but not every aspect. So to win an award on a magazine show we put together, I think that it just brings confidence back, I think, and it's just a step towards rebuilding.
Now they have set the stage for a stronger NHS-TV. Reporting for Mustang Magazine, I'm Cassie Cahill.
See ya! Thanks, girls. We'd like to congratulate those talented students for winning the 2016 Pacemaker, the first ever in the history of our school.
It is really a testament to the program and all the reporters who have contributed stories over the years. Recently, we caught up with an alumni to see how the program impacted his career path.
Senior staff reporters Emily Rooney and Mike Dooley sat down with the class of 2014's Brian Dunn when he recently visited the studio on a break from the University of New Hampshire.
Then tying away, Stony Brook with the kids. Mia Nice got a hand on it.
NHS-TV alum Brian Dunn has used what he learned here at NHS to pave his career path.
With the shot and a save there.
I'm a senior at UNH right now, and along with my communications degree, I am working with UNH Athletics with their production side. I'm doing a lot of their Division I line production stuff, whether it be hockey, basketball, football, stuff like that.
The defense, a shot by Kalachi, and again McMahon making the save. And on the through ball, there's a cross in play.
Brian has had the opportunity to work with some of the biggest sport communication companies in the country.
We broadcast that on behalf of ESPN, so a lot of times they'll pull people from WNH or people that have experience in broadcasting to broadcast those games.
You know, rebounds and dirty goals are going to be kind of the name of the game here, especially on such a unnatural, I shouldn't say unnatural because it is a natural environment, but unnatural to hockey players.
Brian was able to use his experience at NHS-TV to his advantage.
Went up in the air.
Second to none, I got my job as a freshman because I was able to put on my college application, listen, I can work this kind of stuff. And they saw that and they're like, okay, we can hire you right away.
Brian says the connections he made here at Norwood have been essential.
Keep your connections close because you don't want to lose that going into the job field. And with this industry, it's really all about who you know. It's all about how you can get a leg ahead in the competition.
Reporting for Mustang Magazine, I'm Emily Rooney.
Yes, it does! Stony Brook with the goal!
Thanks, guys. Good luck to Brian when he graduates this spring. To see some of Brian's stories, check out our top stories link at www.mustang.media.
There are a lot of great stories on our website and on our YouTube, and that got us to think, what are the best Mustang magazines of all time?
So, we called in our resident media critic to sort things out. Here's Tim Rose from the Mustang Movie Minute with his top 5 list.
For years, the hardworking students of NHS-TV have been reporting all around Norwood to bring you the best stories that they can find. With so many stories being made, they needed some way to show off their hard work in an efficient manner. So for the past 5 years, Mustang Magazine has been a monthly show that displays the latest pieces of journalism created by the TV students. Today, in honor of the special 50th edition of Mustang Magazine, we will be taking a look back and showing off the top 5 Mustang Magazine stories of all time. Make sure to check out the full stories at mustang.media or on the NHS-TV YouTube. Now starting the list off, we have Above the Clouds in the number 5 spot. This story, done by Brian King in 2014, details the local program Above the Clouds, which is the flight program for teens that allows them to actually fly real-life airplanes. Along with the fantastic topic for a story, the dedication put into the piece was shown through the footage shot from the inside of a flying aircraft. Not only that, but the sound bites provided by the interviewees made for an overall feel-good story.
Learning to fly an airplane may seem like a far-fetched idea for a teenager. At Above the Clouds, this wish can become a reality.
Our next story marches their way into the number 4 spot. Done by Brian Curley in 2015, Marching as One talks about Norwood High School's marching band program and the unity that it takes for them to succeed. Utilizing Nat Sound as its main tool, with some great shooting and sequencing in there as well, this story was a fantastic example of how to properly manage and make use of audio in a story.
At Norwood High School, the marching band will practice for days on end, ultimately hoping to strike the right chord with the judges.
Taking the number 3 spot is the first real controversial story done by an NHS-TV student. In 2014, Jess Murphy tackled a major issue for Norwood High students when the NHS administration decided to cut the time between classes from 5 minutes to 4. The story was very well balanced, with equal input from both teachers and students, who were both able to present their arguments. Not only was there balance in the story, but Jess also researched the indirect medical effects of shorter time between classes and even did a test run to see if 4 minutes was actually enough time. Let's take a quick look.
That sound means 2 things to the students at Norwood High School. Either you've made it to class, or you're late.
Up next, in the number 2 spot, Erin Crowley and Brian Curley take a closer look at a famous Norwood icon. Martini Man details the story of Stephen Paradis and his experiences in Norwood as the legendary Martini Man, who is most well known for his typical cocktail in hand and cat on a leash. The sound bites provided by Paradis, paired up with the informative sound bites provided by Erin, make for a great script, and the creative sequencing centered around the captivating life of Paradis complete this piece.
If you live near Cottage Street in Nichols, then you've probably seen Stephen Parody walking in his front yard sipping a martini.
I think some non-animal lovers will do a double take and shrug and say, what a strange guy.
And finally, it's the moment you've all been waiting for. Taking the number 1 spot for Best Mustang Magazine story of all time is An Unexpected Course. The piece follows the story of Matt Brown, an NHS hockey player who was paralyzed after he received a deadly injury during one of his games. This story has not only been acclaimed here in Norwood, but also on a national level as well. The story, done by Sadie Krall, Danny Sullivan, and Taylor Reed, won both 2nd place at STN for Broadcast Story of the Year and a 4th place award from the National Scholastic Press Association for Sports Feature Story. And it's not hard to see why. The inspiring story of the injured athlete brings out a genuine emotional reaction from the viewer. The 3 reporters brilliantly used the art of storytelling to craft a fantastic piece of journalism with great shooting, audio mixing, and with an amazing story at its core. Let's take a look.
I was 15, a sophomore. My mind wasn't on school. It was on a lot of social life.
Matt Brown never imagined his life could change in the matter of seconds.
I think I always imagined when Matt was 21 and Kelly was 20 that my husband and I would, they'd be all grown up and not need us. Clearly Matt still needs us and probably will for many years to come until he has gained more independence.
Thank you all for joining me today as we presented and appreciated some of the best Mustang Magazine stories that have been made throughout the years. Make sure you check out the full stories at mustang.media or check out the NHS-TV YouTube. Until next time, I'm Tim Rose. Thanks for watching.
Great list, thanks Tim. While a lot of Mustang Magazine stories focus on the interesting people of Norwood, some stories shed light on social issues impacting the student body.
In 2014, student government representatives voted to implement a Pledge of Allegiance at the beginning of each school day, and they wanted it to be done on the morning news show.
Students from the NHS Update staff, as well as other student groups, debated about whether they thought that was a good idea.
That we don't have liberty and justice for all, because there are people in the country that say the Pledge of Allegiance every day, and they believe with everything they have that there's liberty and justice for everyone in this country, and things don't have to be changed, like all this stuff.
The people who fought for this pledge, fought for this country, and fought for our ability to be here and debating this would say that it's not a waste of time.
3 years later, after NFL players began protesting police brutality by kneeling for the national anthem, some students at NHS began to protest by not standing for the pledge. Tim Rose and Robert Broussier report.
It's a common routine for students across the nation to begin their school day by standing for the pledge, and Norwood High School is no different.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
The entire student body recites the Pledge of Allegiance in unison as part of their daily morning news show.
But a few students, such as sophomores Angie Verone and Greg Gassaway, have been expressing their First Amendment rights by not standing or fully participating in the morning routine.
The reason that I sit is for the injustices, the inequalities, and the discrimination all throughout the country, because we are not equal, we are not indivisible, there's not liberty and justice for all.
I just stand up and not say anything because I just don't like saying the under God, because I'm atheist, and it's honestly kind of bringing religion into schools because you're telling kids to say under God. Students have the right to not participate in the pledge, but science teacher Ann Sheffield hopes that they truly understand the message they may be sending.
I think that kids who are just sitting should be aware that there are other people who have friends and family who gave up that much for their country, and by them sitting, they're insulting those people.
And it's not just teachers that are upset. Other students, such as sophomore Evan Van Hosen, believe that more kids should be standing during the pledge.
I feel like most students who sit are sitting because they feel that the country has done them wrong, but by sitting, you're not fixing anything. But by standing, you can stand and say what you think is wrong.
Verone says she's well aware of what statement she's making.
For me, social justice is such an important element of the country, and we should be striving to reach that goal where we are equal, there is liberty and justice for everyone, and I think that the only way to change that is by starting doing things so small as just sitting for the pledge every morning. That's the way that you draw attention to it.
While there has been some debate among students and faculty about what the pledge means, the protests haven't caused any major conflicts. Almost certain that teachers have noticed it, just they haven't mentioned it.
Multiple times, teachers have told me or said to me, "Why are you sitting down?" Sometimes I just don't get into it. I don't want to go on a whole tangent of why I don't believe the words that the pledge says, but other times I'm just I'm just not going to stand because I just don't believe in it.
Drama teacher and Eagle Scout John Quinn doesn't always stand for the pledge, and he says it has nothing to do with protest.
In school, I'm kind of chill or relaxed about not always standing for that, because there are a number of students who aren't U.S. citizens, for example, in a public school, and I don't want to always feel like that pressure is on them to stand. I think, frankly, it'd be better if the phrasing were, "and now if you'd like to stand for the pledge," instead of "please stand for the pledge" every day, because it's just strange to me that in a country that believes so heavily in liberty that you're sort of forcing people to do something.
There are currently no plans to stop reciting the pledge at NHS, so while some students will continue to protest, at least that might get some needed conversations going. Reporting for Mustang Magazine, I'm Tim Rose.
Thanks, guys, and congratulations to Tim and Robert for their multiple honors, particularly their 4th place in the nation, awarded by the National Scholastic Press Association for Broadcast Story of the Year.
It's been a great run for Mustang Magazine so far. Here's to another 50. Well, that's all we have for this special edition. We hope you enjoyed the show.
And don't forget, you can always catch us online at www.mustang.media or hit us up on any social media. See you next time, Mustangs. Let's throw it.
Let's try one more and then we'll get on it.
2 years later, Mackenzie Begley and Jess Murphy explored the impact.
Explored the X Factor. Let's go!
Okay, here we go. Ready?
She's perfect. Okay.